Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking another fun and exciting video for you guys today, and you know full well that for some reason, decomps, recomps, and PC ports are absolutely just flooding everything right now in all the best ways possible. What went from like a release a month is now basically to multiple releases a week, and we have another one that is coming quote-unquote soon, and that is a full Spyro the Dragon static recompilation. And honestly, Spyro still hits every bit as good today as it did back in the day, and I'm so excited to be able to play this in the future and talk about it on the channel. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But as of about 24 hours ago, this is me recording this voiceover, and trust me, scheduling videos this week has been an absolute nightmare. I moved things around probably half a dozen times. There is now preview footage out there from a Spyro speedrunner talking about the fact that this is in development and will hopefully be playable by everybody soon. And even though DuckStation does an incredible job of emulating Spyro with all the enhancements, getting a native PC port with something like 60 frames per second and widescreen and all the perspective correction is going to be that much more fun. Because Spyro the Dragon is just a game. I remember getting this thing as a kid and absolutely falling in love with it, and I would tell my friends they had to play it, and even though their opinion didn't really matter all that much to me, I had to hear that I bought a quote-unquote baby's game and I was wasting my time. They went out and bought a bunch of stuff that they thought was going to be better, and I was the winner because Spyro is still a game talked about today, with whatever they bought probably getting forgotten about within 6 months. If you can't tell, still a little bitter about that comment, but honestly I was right and they were wrong. And that's why you see a group of developers out there right now working on a Spyro the Dragon static recomp, because it really is legendarily a good game. And I've either already talked about or will be talking about in the next day or so another PlayStation 1 recomp, probably the biggest of all, but I'm not going to say the name of the game in the video because I don't know if I've run the video yet or not due to the schedule. So either comment about what you think about it down below or take your guesses at what it is if I haven't shown it yet. But honestly, Spyro the Dragon 100% deserves a static recomp, as do a ton of other PlayStation 1 games. Because the reality situation is N64 is winning the race, even though it isn't really any sort of race on these projects, and I love to see PlayStation 1 catch up. So you'll see here, I'll go over some of the information of what's going on here, but this is an active development. It's planned on having 60 frame per second support, widescreen support, that perspective correct texture so you get rid of the wobble and all of the issues on PlayStation 1 hardware, and it's going to support at least natively Windows. It doesn't say any other operating systems, so we'll just have to wait and see. If we take a look at Luma Laura here, it's either Lumi or Luma. I'm trying my best with the pronunciations, but I'm never quite great, so I try to get it right every single time I can. And they posted some speedrun footage, and I've left a link to their Twitter page down below, and they are a speedrunner of Spyro, so you can go and watch their speedruns. Because one thing Video Game Esoteric actually does enjoy watching in his spare time are speedruns of some of my favorite games. I just love to see people playing at the absolute top of their ability, basically exploiting the game for all it's worth. And this is footage from that recomp. I don't currently have a version to test, but again, I didn't contact the developers to ask either. More often than not, people come to me and show me things. I don't go out there asking for a ton of stuff, but I am very excited about the concept of a Spyro recomp, because really all it needs is 16:9 support, that 60 frame per second widescreen, and maybe a true analog camera, because at this point in time in DuckStation, you use the shoulders to move the camera left and right, but I just want that on a right analog stick, or maybe even mouse and keyboard controls. So going back to my DuckStation capture here that I got for the video, I will say the 3D camera isn't the worst in PlayStation 1 history, but it obviously could be a lot better, and just because they were basically inventing what 3D meant in this generation. There's some games out there that nailed it better than others, and I will say Spyro the Dragon definitely is in the good not bad category. But imagine a world in which you had full range of motion and that full 3D analog camera on the right analog stick. That would just be that much better to play the game, because sometimes the camera will definitely fight you, especially on some of the trickier jumps, and sometimes you miss things, not because you screwed up your button input, but because the camera basically wasn't in the right position and it did lead you off course. That is something that basically every 3D game from this era can benefit from, and when we do see analog 3D cameras on the N64 recomps and source ports, the games are that much better for it. Let's go into the first of two soundtrack samples. First is going to be DuckStation, so you can get an idea of the audio quality there, and the second one will be a soundtrack from the actual recomp capture. So go ahead and listen, get an idea of what it sounds like here, so you can compare it later on in the video.
Watch the dragonflies, Spyro. His color indicates his power. When he eats butterflies, he stays strong. Like me.
Sure.
So going back to Lumo Laura's capture here from Twitter, and again it's all linked down below so you can watch it because I am not showing the entirety of it, just the bits that I need to use. It does definitely seem smooth. It's obviously in 16:9. You can tell the frame rate is definitely higher than PlayStation 1, and there is no issue on the walls here as far as the polygon wobble or any of the texture warping. And even though that's kind of fun in a way because it is synonymous with what the PlayStation 1 looked like back in the day, it is nice that it's going to be something that can be removed, and hopefully in the recomp it is a toggle. Some people really actually still like that look. In some ways it is indicative of where this hardware and software came from. Other people absolutely hate it, so it is going to be nice that they have those options to kind of play around with. And I just think the Spyro the Dragon definitely is a game that deserves a static recomp, and hopefully it means that in the future there will be a static recomp for the sequel as well, because Spyro the Dragon is definitely one of those franchises. It's been around for a long time and it definitely doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And even though if I could snap my fingers and make one of the most famous 3D games of all time from PlayStation 1 show up as a static recomp, I would still pick Crash Bandicoot. Spyro would be a very close second, but I just love Crash like 1% more back in the day. And for my dark horse candidate for a PlayStation 1 static recomp, I'm not saying it's a good game, I'm just saying I loved it as a kid and I have nostalgia for it. I would pick Jersey Devil. But you tell me down below in the comments, if you could just make one game appear working perfectly on PC for PlayStation 1, which one would it be? Spyro the Dragon would definitely be in my top 5, I think, though, but I would love to see Metal Gear Solid as well. But this footage looks outstanding. The motion clarity, the smoothness in the frame rate, and everything else is really appealing, and hopefully we are able to play this one soon, because just think about a better version of Spyro the Dragon. And even though I don't expect it and it hasn't been mentioned whatsoever, I would also love to see at some point in time one of these static recomps actually get VR support, and I think Spyro the Dragon would be an excellent candidate for that. The colors are bright and cheery, and it would almost feel like playing in a diorama if you could actually go quote-unquote into the world with a VR headset. Again, that's not anything that's been advertised, and there hasn't been a single static recomp or source port that has featured that. I don't really expect there ever to be one. I'm just doing a little bit of theory crafting and dreaming here and saying it would be fun if something like that could happen. And don't forget, there's also the Spyro Reignited trilogy where they have the remake of the original Spyro the Dragon, and even though I'm sure the actual texture formats would require a lot of amending and changing around, theoretically I do wonder if the static recomp could support custom texture packs, because it would be really fun to have some of those textures brought into the PlayStation 1 version of the game. It would just give it a little bit more of a clean, modern look. And a lot of times I say that these recomps bring these games to new audiences, maybe kids that didn't grow up on PlayStation 1, but in this instance, because the Reignited trilogy does exist, maybe not as much of a claim, because I actually bought my nephew for Christmas one year the Reignited trilogy, and he absolutely loved every single game. And it really goes to show that even if you weren't alive when the PlayStation 1 came out, these games hold up with a new coat of paint and a little bit of polish. Let's go into another soundtrack sample from the recomp, and I'll be right back with just a bit more. I mean, it just sounds like Spyro the Dragon to me, but you can leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. And I'm super excited to see more PlayStation 1 static recomps appearing, as again, I've either already shown you another one in development that'll be out soon. You'll be watching that maybe on the channel tomorrow or the next day after that. Because trust me when I say, trying to actually schedule the channel now and not have it just be 100% decomps, recomps, or PC source ports has been difficult, because I still want to talk about new retro games, I still want to talk about emulation, but suddenly in June, absolutely everything has been blown wide open when it comes to these projects, and honestly I am not complaining and I am stoked about it, and I know you are too. And I'm really happy to see PlayStation 1 get more love, because honestly it's such an incredible console. I loved it back when I was a kid, and I have a massive collection of PlayStation 1 hardware and games still on my shelf today. But getting some PC static recaps and source ports is going to be a very fun thing, because there's so many games that deserve it. Honestly, I could probably make a list of 100 games I'd love to see and then still have another 50 to 60 candidates that I took off that list. But sure that if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll let you know when this is out, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.